Have you ever wondered why some decisions seem so difficult for you? If you were born under the sign of Leo, there's a very clear explanation for this. And today I'm going to reveal 12 fundamental things every Leo needs to know before making any important decision in life. You know that feeling of always being torn between following your burning heart or thinking calmly. This happens because Leo carries a very powerful energy, but it can become an obstacle when not well directed. Many people of this sign make impulsive decisions and later regret them, or become paralyzed trying to choose the perfect option. What I've discovered after years of studying Leo behavior is that there are very specific patterns that influence their choices. And when you understand these patterns, your decisions become much more assertive and yield surprising results. Imagine being able to always choose the right path, the one that will take you exactly where you want to go. If you don't learn these 12 truths today, you may continue making the same mistakes over and over again. You may continue to feel frustrated by choices that seemed right at the time, but didn't bring the expected results. And believe me, this will cost you much more than just a few minutes of watching this video. So stay with me until the end, because the last of these 12 revelations will completely change the way you view decisions. Let's begin. First thing, your pride can be your greatest enemy. As a Leo, you carry within you a natural pride that can be both your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. This pride gives you the confidence to face any challenge, but it can also blind you when making important decisions. When your ego is involved, you tend to choose options that protect your image, even if they aren't the best for your life. For example, you might turn down a job opportunity because you feel you're beneath your level, or you might persist in a relationship that's no longer working just to avoid admitting your mistake. The problem is that your pride causes you to see situations through a filter. You can't calmly evaluate the pros and cons because you're too concerned with maintaining your position of prominence. And this leads you to decisions that feed your ego in the short term, but can harm your future. The solution isn't to completely abandon this personality trait, because it also gives you courage and determination. The secret is recognizing when your pride is interfering with your choices. Before making any important decision, pause and ask yourself, am I choosing this because it's truly what's best for me, or because it will make me look good in front of others? When you can separate what's good for your image from what's good for your life, your decisions become much wiser and more effective. Second thing, your need for approval distorts your choices. Every Leo has a natural need to be admired and recognized. In your essence, it's part of who you are. But when this need becomes excessive, it can lead you to make decisions based on what others expect of you, not on what you truly want. You may choose a career that impresses people, but doesn't bring you personal satisfaction. You may accept social commitments that drain your energy just to maintain an image. You may even choose relationships that seem perfect on the outside but don't make you happy on the inside. This constant search for approval causes you to lose touch with your true desires and needs. You start living the life others want you to live, not your own. And ultimately, even with all that approval, you feel empty and unfulfilled. The point is, people of your sign shine naturally when they're being authentic. Your inner light is much more powerful when it comes from a genuine place than when it's forced to please others. People sense this difference and are naturally drawn to your authenticity. So before making any decision, especially important ones, ask yourself, will this make me happy regardless of what others think? Am I choosing this because it resonates with who I really am, or just because it will impress people? When you can answer these questions honestly, your choices become much more aligned with your true essence. Third thing, you underestimate the power of patience. Leo is a fire sign, and this means you have a natural drive to act quickly. You see an opportunity and want to seize it immediately. You have an idea and want to put it into practice today. This trait can be very positive in some situations, but it can also hurt you when you make important decisions without considering the consequences. You often miss out on better opportunities because you couldn't wait a little longer. You accept the first offer that comes along because you're afraid nothing better will come along. You change direction midway because you found something that seems more interesting at the moment. The problem is that life's best opportunities often take time to mature. The best relationships develop gradually. The best business ventures require planning and preparation. When you always act impulsively, you end up missing out on these most valuable opportunities. Your sign has a natural connection with the sun, which represents constancy and persistence. The sun doesn't shine erratically or impulsively. It maintains its light consistently day after day. When you learn to channel this solar energy more balanced, your decisions become much more powerful. So the next time you feel like making an important decision quickly, give yourself at least 24 hours to reflect. Use this time to visualize the potential consequences of your choice. Ask yourself if there's any additional information you should consider. This short pause can make a huge difference in the results you achieve. If you're enjoying these revelations about Leo behavior, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any new content. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because I love knowing where my Leos are around the world. Fourth thing, your generosity can backfire. One of the most beautiful qualities of your sign is your natural generosity. You have a big heart and enjoy helping those around you. But when you don't set clear boundaries, this generosity can lead you to make decisions that harm your own life. You might lend money you shouldn't just because someone asked for help. You might take on extra responsibilities at work, even though you're already overwhelmed. You might dedicate your time and energy to other people's projects, putting your own dreams aside. The problem isn't being generous. The problem is not knowing how to say no when necessary. You often make decisions based on guilt or fear of disappointing someone, not because you truly want to help. And this can lead to situations where you feel used or undervalued. Furthermore, when you always say yes to everything, people start to take your help for granted. They stop appreciating what you do for them because they know you'll always be available. This can create unbalanced relationships where you give far more than you receive. True generosity comes from a place of abundance, not obligation. When you take good care of yourself first, you have much more to offer others. When you set healthy boundaries, people begin to value your help more when you actually choose to offer it. So before making decisions that involve helping others, take an honest look at the situation. Are you doing it because you truly want to and can? Or are you doing it out of guilt, fear, or pressure? This little reflection can prevent you from getting yourself into sticky situations and preserve your energy for the things that truly matter. Fifth thing, you ignore important signs because of stubbornness. Leos are known for being determined and persistent, qualities that can lead you to success in many areas of life. But this same determination can turn into stubbornness when you refuse to acknowledge that a decision isn't working out as expected. You might persist in a relationship that has already shown clear signs of failing. You might continue investing in a business that is losing money simply because you don't want to admit you made a mistake. You may maintain habits that are damaging your health because you've always done it that way and don't want to change. This resistance to change happens because your ego over-identifies with the decisions you make. When something doesn't work out, you feel like it's a personal failure, a wound to your pride. So you'd rather keep pushing than admit you need to change direction. But life is always sending us signals about the quality of our decisions. When something is on the right track, things flow more easily. When something isn't right, we encounter constant obstacles, frustrations, and results that fall short of expectations. Learning to recognize and interpret these signals is a fundamental skill for making better decisions. It doesn't mean you should give up at the first hurdle, but it does mean being aware of recurring patterns. If you're always facing the same problems in a certain area of your life, it might be time to reconsider your approach. The true power of Leo isn't in never changing your mind, but in having the courage to make the necessary adjustments when you realize something isn't working. This intelligent flexibility is what separates Leos who achieve their dreams from those who remain stuck in situations that don't make them happy. Thing 6. Your intuition is more powerful than you imagine. Although Leo is known for its rational nature and leadership abilities, you also possess a very powerful intuition that is often ignored when making important decisions. You tend to rely more on logic and analysis, but your first impressions of people and situations are usually spot on. How many times have you had a hunch about someone or a situation, but ignored it because it seemed irrational? How many times have you later discovered that your initial intuition was correct? This happens because your sign has a natural connection with solar energy, which illuminates truths that the rational mind can't always perceive. The problem is that our society highly values logical thinking and devalues intuition, especially for signs that are seen as more rational. So you may have learned to distrust your hunches, believing them to be unreliable for important decisions. But intuition isn't something mystical or irrational. It's your mind processing information at a lightning-fast speed, capturing subtle details that your consciousness hasn't yet organized logically. It's as if you have an internal computer that analyzes thousands of variables in seconds and gives you an instant answer. When you learn to combine your analytical ability with your natural intuition, your decisions become much more accurate and effective. Logic helps you understand the details and practical implications, while intuition guides you to the choice that best aligns with your overall well-being. So the next time you have to make an important decision, pay attention to your first gut reaction. How does your body feel when you consider each option? What emotions arise? This information is as valuable as any rational analysis you can make. Thing 7. You sabotage yourself out of fear of failure. There's an interesting paradox in Leo behavior that many people don't realize. While you seek recognition and success, you may also harbor a deep fear of failing publicly. And this fear can lead you to make decisions that sabotage your own chances of success. You may choose goals smaller than you truly desire to ensure you can achieve them. You may avoid opportunities that involve more exposure because you're afraid of not measuring up. You may procrastinate on important projects because, until you finish them, there's still a chance they'll be perfect. This dynamic occurs because your sign has a natural need to maintain an image of competence and success. The idea of failing in front of others can seem unbearable, so you'd rather not try than risk failing. But what you need to understand is that failure is part of the growth process for any successful person. There's no path to success that doesn't include some mistakes and learning along the way. And in fact, people respect those who have the courage to try difficult things and sometimes fail much more than those who always choose the safest path. Furthermore, your sign has a natural ability to bounce back quickly from adversity. Your solar energy can transform any temporary failure into an opportunity for learning and growth. But you'll only discover this ability if you have the courage to take risks. So when considering an opportunity that involves some risk, ask yourself, what is really the worst-case scenario? And if that scenario were to happen, how would I handle it? More often than not, you'll discover that your feared consequences aren't as dire as they seemed, and that you have more resources to deal with them than you realize. 8th thing. You make decisions based on extreme emotions. As a Leo, you feel emotions very intensely. When you're happy, you're radiant. When you're angry, you're furious. When you're in love, you're completely invested. This emotional intensity is one of your most defining characteristics, but it can be problematic when making important decisions. You might decide to change careers in the midst of a bout of frustration at work. You might end a relationship during a heated argument. You might make an impulsive purchase when you're feeling particularly good. These decisions made at the height of an emotion rarely yield positive long-term results. The problem is that extreme emotions distort our perception of reality. When you're very angry, you tend to see only the negative aspects of a situation. When you're very excited, you might ignore important risks. When you're very sad, you might make self-destructive decisions. This doesn't mean you should ignore your emotions when making decisions. Emotions contain valuable information about what's important to you and how you feel about your options. The problem arises when you act impulsively without giving the emotional intensity time to subside. A very effective strategy is to create a buffer between feeling a strong emotion and making an important decision based on it. When you feel the urge to make a drastic change in your life, write down that urge and commit to revisiting it in a week. If after that time you still feel the same conviction but in a more balanced way, then it may be a valid decision. Remember that your emotions are like the weather. They change constantly. A decision made in an emotional storm may seem completely wrong when the sun comes out again. So give yourself the time necessary for your emotions to stabilize before making choices that will impact your future. Thing 9. You underestimate the importance of details. Leo is a sign that thinks big and has ambitious visions for the future. You are able to see possibilities that others can't even imagine. But this panoramic vision can cause you to overlook important details when making decisions. You can get excited about a business idea without properly researching the market. You might accept a new job focusing solely on the salary, without considering the company culture or growth opportunities. You might enter a partnership without properly reading the contracts. This tendency occurs because you identify more with the role of visionary and leader than with that of detail-oriented analyst. You prefer to delegate these more detailed tasks to others, which can work well in some situations, but isn't always possible. The problem is that details can make the difference between success and failure. A poorly analyzed contract can land you in legal trouble. Superficial research can lead you to invest in an area with no potential. A choice based solely on general criteria can lead you to unexpected situations. The solution isn't to become a detail-obsessed person, because that goes against your nature. But it's important to develop a system to ensure that important information is considered before making significant decisions. You can create a checklist for different types of decisions. For financial decisions, what information do you need to analyze? For professional decisions, what aspects are crucial? For relationship decisions, what signs should you look for? By having these lists ready, you can maintain your visionary nature without neglecting important practical aspects. 10th thing, you confuse confidence with preparation. One of Leo's greatest qualities is natural confidence. You believe in your ability to handle challenges and overcome obstacles. This self-confidence is essential to achieving big goals, but it can sometimes lead you to make decisions without adequate preparation. You might accept a leadership position without having fully developed the necessary skills. You might invest in a new field without sufficient study. You might start a complex project trusting that you will learn along the way, without considering the risks involved. This attitude occurs because you have genuine faith in your ability to adapt and learn. And indeed, your sign has a natural ability to improvise and find creative solutions. But confidence without preparation can put you in unnecessarily difficult situations. The difference between confidence and preparation is that confidence is a mental attitude, while preparation involves concrete actions. You may be confident that you can learn to drive, but that doesn't mean you should hit the road without taking lessons first. When you combine your natural confidence with proper preparation, you become practically unstoppable. You have the courage to take on big challenges and the tools to overcome them successfully. So before making decisions involving new responsibilities or unfamiliar areas, take an honest look at what you already know and what you need to learn. Identify the skills and knowledge that will be necessary and create a plan to develop them. Your natural confidence will give you the courage to face the learning process, and your preparation will ensure your ultimate success. 11th thing, you ignore advice that could help you. Leo has a natural tendency to trust their own judgment more than the opinions of others. This can be a positive quality because it protects you from negative influences and helps you maintain your individuality. But it can also cause you to miss valuable advice that could improve your decisions. You may dismiss the opinions of more experienced people because you think they don't understand your specific situation. You may ignore warnings from friends and family because you prefer to figure things out on your own. You may reject constructive feedback because you interpret it as personal criticism. This resistance to advice happens because your sign highly values autonomy and leadership. You see yourself as someone who should be in charge of your own decisions, not someone who needs guidance from others. And there's truth to that. You do have a natural ability to make good decisions. But even the best leaders have advisors and mentors. Even the smartest people recognize that others may have valuable perspectives and experiences to share. The difference between advice and imposition is that you always have the freedom to decide whether or not to follow it. The key is learning to filter advice intelligently. Not every opinion deserves your consideration, but some people have experiences and insights that can truly help you. Identify these people in your life. Who has experience in the area where you want to grow? Who demonstrates wisdom in their own decisions? Who genuinely cares about your well-being? When you can balance your natural independence with the wisdom to accept good advice, your decisions become much more solid and well-founded. 12th thing, you don't consider the long-term impact. The last and perhaps most important thing every Leo needs to know is the importance of considering the long-term consequences of their decisions. Your sign has an energy that's heavily focused on the present and the immediate future, which can cause you to fail to adequately analyze how your choices today will affect your life 5, 10, or 20 years from now. You might choose a job that pays well today but doesn't offer professional growth. You might spend money on things that give you immediate pleasure, but compromise your future financial stability. You might make decisions that solve current problems but create bigger ones later. This tendency occurs because your sign is ruled by the sun, which represents the present moment and immediate life energy. You're naturally drawn to choices that bring quick results and instant gratification. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you also consider the bigger picture. The problem arises when you consistently prioritize the short term over the long term. This can lead to a life of constant ups and downs, where you solve one situation only to create another one right away. The solution is to develop the habit of asking yourself a few questions before making important decisions. How will this choice affect my life a year from now? What kind of person will I become if I continue making choices like this? Will this decision bring me closer to or further from my long-term goals? When you can balance your natural present energy with a strategic vision of the future, your decisions become powerful both for resolving immediate issues and for building the life you truly desire. These 12 revelations can completely transform the quality of your decisions and, consequently, the results you achieve in life. Remember that knowledge without action doesn't create change. Choose at least 3 of these revelations that resonate most with you, and start applying them to your next important decisions. As a Leo, you have incredible potential to create an extraordinary life. Your natural energy, your leadership ability, and your determination are powerful tools. When you learn to use them more consciously and strategically, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 12 revelations impacted you the most? Which will you start applying first in your life? Share your experience in the comments below, as it might inspire other Leos who are watching. And if this video helped you better understand your decision-making process, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future content about the astrological world. See you next time.